Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Early Gate Show. Tonight is going to be our first Ghost Encounter show. We have Bonnie from New Orleans. Hi, Bonnie. How are you doing?
Hi, Earl. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks very much for joining us. And you have some experiences in lots of different places in the country. Is that right?
Yes, I have lived several places in the United States, I guess you could say, and I've been a few places and traveled quite a bit. So I've had a few experiences myself. Even today, I work at a haunted radio station, so that's kind of
Yeah.
fun. So a few different things have happened to me. I'm a little OCD, so I'll start from the beginning. I first started having some maybe what you would call paranormal stuff going on probably as a teenager. I lived in Tennessee, East Tennessee, and feel like a couple things that happened to me there. Maybe nothing too crazy, just seeing apparitions and stuff in the house. That's not so interesting. But one story I have, it was about 2006. I had been living in Philadelphia for several years, and my sister had had a baby, so I decided to go back home and visit. I hadn't been back home in several years, probably 5 or 10 years. But anyway, I lived in a trailer in White County, Tennessee. It was way out. This is like middle of nowhere, Tennessee, way out in the county. No neighbors really to speak of. Little trailer, little group of trailers here at the end of this dirt road. It was called Swamp Road in Sparta, Tennessee. So anyway, I like to go out walking, all that kind of stuff. Nothing to do. So I went out. It was a summer day. I went out to just walk around. And there's, like I said, this is a dirt road, gravel road, middle of nowhere. There's no neighbors. There's no real people around. I just went out walking in the woods, really just around the road, but come across, I guess, out in the back field, probably about an acre, probably about 2 or 3 acres behind the house. There was a little fence line, like an old farm fence. So I'm walking along the fence line one day, and I come across this little patch. It was not very big, almost the size of like a bigger bedroom of a graveyard. So interesting, right? So of course I have to be curious and go in, but it wasn't well kept. Seemed like it would be more like a large family plot, if you will. A lot of that in some older places. So anyway, I go stumbling around this graveyard. I'm always very respectful, so I guess I believe that things can see me or hear me. So I'll greet everyone there, or who I may think still be hanging around. Anyway, get into the graveyard, probably about maybe 20 headstones and markers. And I noticed most, to the best of my recollection, most of these are going to be Civil War era. We're talking 1850s, 1860s, 19th century stuff going on here. So I look around, noticed a few of them, and probably spent about 20, 30 minutes there. And then I head back to the house. I wasn't too far from the house. I would say within a couple of days, like I said, this was almost 20 years ago, but within a couple of days, I started having these things that many people refer to as night terrors. Other people may call it like old hag syndrome and sleep paralysis. And if you've ever experienced this, it's not fun. I've never experienced this since. And what I ended up doing was going out to the thrift store and picking up a crucifix. Now, I'll tell you, I'm much more of a spiritual person. Religion, I think there's a lot of different stuff out there we don't always know. I'm not against it, but I'll tell you what, I was having these night terrors to the point where I could not wake up. I could not move. I would wake up in the morning or even late in the middle of the night, totally unable to move, barely able to breathe. Felt like I was choking just a bit. And I was at my mama's house, and my mama said to me in the morning, she'd get up and say, Bonnie, she'd be laughing at me. She'd be like, "You was screaming all night. You were screaming out for me." And I was like, "Well, why the hell didn't you wake me up?" But this had probably gone on for about a week before I decided to go check out a Goodwill. And I think I just happened upon a crucifix, so picked that up, and I slept with it under my pillow, and I started to say the Lord's Prayer. Now, I will say this, my mother is a very conservative Christian, religious, very strict Christian woman, so she probably told me to start praying to Jesus every day as a kid. She'd tell us to say our prayers and rebuke the devil. So I guess that was something I thought to do, and I started doing that, and it worked, and I haven't had that experience since. But when you start talking about the fire and the brimstone and the power of Christ compels you and things, that's the kind of stuff that freaks me out a little bit. So that's just one story I have.
So, can you mentioned also that you saw some apparitions when you were a kid? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So growing up, it's nothing too crazy. Growing up, we lived all over the South, and by the time I got back into 8th grade, we had moved back to East Tennessee, Bluntville to be exact, and we lived in a log cabin high on a hill with an apple orchard. And to be honest, I don't think the cabin was that old. We had some neighbors and things, and it was just another little dirt road right off the interstate. Um, but anyway, I guess this is the first I can recall seeing anything. Always was really interested in ghosts, UFOs, ghost stories, spooky stuff as a kid. Mom, dad, total opposite kind of people. My dad's into all that crazy stuff. My mom, not so much. But the first time I can really remember seeing anything, I was probably about 14 years old, and had a stereo, as many of us did back in the 90s, and it lit up. It had a little orange light on it that would kind of, cast a little orange glow on the room. Not too crazy. Well, anyway, I woke up in the middle of the night, and we lived out in the woods. There was all woods around us, so it was real dark. No street lights or anything like that. But I had this little glow in my room, and I remember walking across the foot of my bed was almost what appeared pretty much what appeared to be like a little old lady. And that's why I say it's this kind of not so crazy. It's kind of funny. Anyway, little old lady walking across my bed freaked me out. I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't drinking or any of that kind of stuff. So I come downstairs and fell back asleep on the couch, just panicking. And I knew my parents weren't going to want to hear it, so I just kept it to myself. I went back. I probably woke up another hour or two later and decided maybe I was dreaming. I'm seeing stuff, whatever. I go back to bed, and I think probably went back to sleep for a little more hour maybe. Come to wake up. Okay, so I'm really OCD. Like I said, I've got to have all the doors shut. I don't like my closet door or anything being open at night. So I know for 100% fact my closet doors were shut, and I had those old wooden, I forget what you call them. Anyway, they pulled open, if that makes sense. So 2 little closet doors. The closet doors were pulled open. They're right on the left-hand side of my bed. Down in my closet, I then see what appears to be like a little glowing angel, like a little girl with long dark hair in like the white dress, and had this just white glow. At this point, I'm losing my ever loving mind, and I think I probably went back downstairs and panicked a little bit. And I remember had a little girlfriend that lived a couple miles up the road. So a couple days later, I went over to Brandy's house, and I spent a lot of time there. I was real close with her mom and dad. Well, anyway, I was telling her mama about it because my parents wouldn't have believed me. But Brandy's mom come to tell me, we were talking about ghost stories. I'll have another story here for you. She told me that years ago, we were about like 14, 15. So she told me that when Brandy was a baby, she had a brother and a sister, all, within a year or two of age. So when the kids were really little, toddlers, 2, 3 years old, she had a little house, and she told me, she told me not to be worried, and the angel was there little angel I saw was there to tell me everything's gonna be all right and everything. And there's good spirits and all this stuff, because when the kids were little, it's the middle of the night, she woke up to her son crying out for her, crying mama and hollering and stuff. So she said she got up, and she sat up in bed, and she didn't hear him again. It woke her out of a sleep, him calling for her. So she laid back down, and she heard it, as she's falling asleep, she heard it again. She gets up and goes, to the back of the house. The house is on fire and ended up burning to the ground, and the kids were not awake. The kids were sound asleep. So she believes that she heard something, some kind of spirit. She's not sure, but that's what she told me. Something woke her up, something paranormal, something otherworldly woke her up to tell her. And if she hadn't have gotten up, they would have not made it out of that house. So that's my story about that.
That sounds like something woke her up. Definitely.
Something creepy.
What other personal experiences have you had?
More recently, I'll talk about the radio station in a minute, but I've got one more about living in Tennessee. About 4 years ago, I'd been down here in Mississippi for a little while. I went back to Tennessee. Maybe it was a mistake. Anyway, long story short. So, about 4 years ago, I was back in Tennessee and we had rented a really old house. In fact, the only reason I went back was because of the house, okay? I'm not going to lie. So, we had rented a 1899 house. It was in Gainesboro, Tennessee. It was right on the square. Of course, if you're from wherever, most old towns are going to have the square, with everything all around it, the courthouse right in the middle. So anyway, we lived about a block up from the courthouse in this old Victorian house. Beautiful house. Um, so when you walked in the front door of the house, huge, I mean, I'm talking, 12, 14-foot ceilings, big old house. When you walk in the front door of the home, it's a straight shot down the hallway all the way to the very back wall. There's two bedrooms on either side, two or three big, parlor room on the left, bedrooms on the right, little back room. The landlord had a bunch of stuff in there. He was spray painting. Anyway, you get to so yes, keep in mind that room, the last room on the left was like the landlord's whatever room where he like spray painted motorcycles and car parts. That was all his junk, a bunch of flammable stuff in there, and the kids were not allowed to go in there. That was his stuff. We didn't need it. We had enough bedrooms. Anyway, down the end of the hallway, just, over from this room, the room's directly to my left. We had a big mirror at the end of the hallway. Well, it was Halloween night, about 5 o'clock. We were getting ready to go trick or treating. We had all the kids ready, getting ready to go out. I'm just not really dressed up. I'm just putting on some makeup and stuff. Everybody's out on the porch. Everyone's loading up into the car out on the street. So not anybody was in the house but me. Of course, being mom, I'm the last one out the door. I'm standing back at the mirror. There was an ironing board in front of it where we had some stuff. So where I had my makeup, getting all dolled up as I do. So I'm thinking all the kids are in the car, doors shut, whatever. The doorknob, okay, and this is an old house and it squeaks and makes noises. The doorknob's probably about, I don't know, 5-6 feet to my left. I hear the doorknob start to squeak, and everything in this house is original, probably all 1899. It wasn't really an updated house at all. It's a pretty old house. It had been vacant for many years. The doorknob to my left, I look over, it's squeaking, but it's also turning on its own, right? So naturally, I assume one of the kids is in there when they're not supposed to be. So I just holler out, "What are you doing?" And I go over and open it. There's nobody in the room. There's nobody in there. Nobody's in that room. Nobody's in the whole house but me. So that's my story about that. Also, when we rented the house, we did not have to pay any rent. So technically we were just living there. The only thing the landlord asked for us to do was, it was wintertime. It was October when we moved in. He had asked us to please it was like a friend of a friend kind of guy, just to keep up with the utilities, the water and the heat and everything, light bill, because the house was too haunted and his wife did not want to live there anymore. So it had been vacant for like a year. He just wanted somebody in the house to kind of, keep it up and running. It was a pretty old house. So, yes. Now, I will tell you, we didn't live there long. They ended up putting the house for sale shortly after we moved in. But I didn't so much hear. It's funny to me because with a house of that age and me being just very open to this kind of stuff anyway, I really expected more. I kind of was looking forward to some ghosts. Didn't ever really see anything. That's the only creepy thing that happened. But I will tell you, there's no way a 100-year-old doorknob is just going to turn on its own. So there you go.
I know exactly. So the very first apartment that I had when I got to Philadelphia, I told you before that it was haunted, but this apartment, this front door, it was the entry door to the apartment. The doorknob used to jiggle. It would like somebody was jiggling the doorknob. And I took that whole doorknob apart. I made sure there was nothing like electrical. And there was one night. So the roommate, he played bass in the band, our band when we moved to Philly, named John. So I was like, "John, I'm going to stand here and watch this thing, and I'm going to watch it when it jiggles." And I watched it, and it did it. I said, "This is crazy."
And
so
you might think,
it's weird.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that it's it's weird because like I said, took the whole thing apart. There's no reason that thing should have been jiggling. And of course, there was nobody on the other side of the door.
Right. You're thinking there's someone in the house or stomping through the house or something, someone upstairs, but yeah, nobody there. Right.
Definitely strange.
I feel like other stuff happened there, but I don't remember. Just the whole doorknob thing. That was the biggest thing I think I noticed about that place. So yeah, and it just happened to be Halloween day, so
Can you tell us about the radio station?
I sure can. So radio station. I work as a DJ at a country music radio station. It's a classic country station. It's a small town station. It is a historic radio station. We're still in the same building. We've been in the same place for 75 years. It first opened and went on the air in late November of 1949. And Tex Ritter came to the station for opening day. So maybe you got some Tex Ritter fans out there. Anyway, I haven't worked there long. I've been there under 2 years, but I'm there every week. And many days of the week we have ball games, and I'm usually there late night. During football season, I'm there till after midnight covering football games and some stuff that we do. So I started working there in August, and football starts in August. So first things first, they threw me in there. I worked for literally 1 week before they gave me a key, and I am on my own in that place, all by my lonesome. So I'd been working there about a month. I'd heard a couple things similar to that house I had lived in. The radio station's built front door right in the middle, straight shot down a hallway, a couple offices and rooms on either 2 or 3 rooms on either side of the hallway. The studio is in the very back of the building. We also have the transmitters behind just a wall of glass in the studio. Very tiny little studio, just enough for a few people to squeeze into, and a whole bunch of records and things. Anyway, with that transmitter, I don't even know what that transmitter is all about. It's giving off some power though, and of course we've got a huge radio tower out back, just beyond the wall of the studio is the back wall of the building, backyard. Towers right out there. And in this modern day, they would never put a radio tower so close to the station, to the building, for all that good stuff that comes off of that. So we've got some flyers and posters hanging around about all the radiation and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, like I said, it's been there 75 years. Within the first month of me working there, especially late in the evening. Now we've got studio sound, which is a few speakers in the studio. I like to turn them up so I can hear what's going on. I have to monitor the sports games and make sure the broadcast is coming through loud and clear, monitoring the sound and everything that comes through. That's my job. I don't actually go out to the games. I stay in the studio and stream everything on the air. Anyway, we also have, if you're looking down the hallway at the studio, to the left, we have a little break room, little kitchen back there, and off the back of the kitchen is the door to go into the other way into the transmitter room. You can also walk in the glass door in the studio. So that's the back left corner of the building is the transmitter room. So anyway, I'm back in the lunchroom late night making some coffee. I hear a woman's voice call my name. Hello, Bonnie. Obviously, I think it's somebody coming in. There's a few girls that work there and do some paperwork for us. They don't work in the building. They come and get their paperwork and they go home. So there's one girl that usually comes in a little later at night. She'll pop in every now and again. I obviously think it's Miss Jennifer coming in. So I go out to the hallway. Nobody's there. The front of the building, we usually don't turn the office lights on if we're there late at night. So I've just got the hallway light. So I'm thinking she's there. I go in her office. No one's there. Not a single soul in that building. So who the hell said hello to me? Okay, I'm a little freaked out, but whatever. I didn't really think much of it. I just chalk it up to the ghost because, like I said, I've been believing in this stuff. I've been seeing this stuff for years. No big deal. Whatever. Laugh it off. That was one thing. Over the course of the year and a half or so I've worked there, and like I said, I'm there several days, early morning and late in the evenings, sometimes twice a day. So it had been about maybe right around the time, I'd been there about a month when that had happened. I had asked my production manager, a younger guy, he'd come in one night and I said, is this place haunted? Let me ask you something. Don't laugh at me. Is this place haunted? He starts cracking up laughing. He said, why do you think you're in here by yourself at night. He said, not a soul that works here wants to be in here after sundown because, yes, it's haunted. He's just cracking up laughing like it didn't take me long to figure it out. So we have got a spirit, and most of us believe it's just BJ. BJ was a guy affectionately called BJ the DJ. He's very famous in this town I'm from because he worked at the radio station from, like, maybe not so much opening day, but he's been working there since, the 50s, and he worked there for 40 years up until his death in the 90s. I think it was 1996 or so. He did pass away, and he was still working there. Not only was he a famous DJ around here, all old folks in town know him, love him. Everyone's got a million stories when I tell them I work at the radio station. Everybody knows the radio station. So they all want to tell me about BJ. Well, not only do they all, now me personally, I heard a woman's voice. I hear all kinds of stuff. It could be plenty of people. I certainly believe that the energy and electricity coming off that transmitter and even the radio tower out back is, people say spirits, they have to have something to feed off of, right? That's why your lights flicker. That's why you're going to have power outages. That's why your camera batteries going to drain and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's part of it, but I've got several other things that have happened. Most of the time when I'm there late at night, I've got the studio sound on, but I'll turn it down. Maybe we'll have a quiet minute or two. Just about once a week, at least, if I'm there in the evening, there's somebody in the office making noise. There's papers shuffling all of the time. Now, one of the offices is Michael's office. Whatever it is lives in Michael's office, and I joke about it all the time. He don't really care. He's only there in the daytime. It don't bother him. But we also have a secretary up front. She's been there about a year. Now, this lady, she's about 60 or so. This woman's the one, she's from New Orleans. She is decked out head to toe in crystals. She's very, very into all that kind of stuff, psychics and everything. She will tell you every day, she'll tell me on the way out the door when I'm in there in the morning that she's got a little old lady up front in the office. When you walk in the door, we've got some chairs, a little reception area. She told me there's a little old lady that just sits there with her. So maybe that's the one that said hello to me that night. I don't know. But yes, I see them. I hear them. I don't see them as much, but I hear them every day.
So does your coworker, does she see the old lady that sits with her?
Yes, she has told me that she had another job years ago before this, an office job, where there was one that, like, she moved her office and it came with her. So she's very into seeing stuff. We always joke she can see stuff more than I do, and I hear more than she does. But yes, that I'm telling you, just about every night I'm in there. My production manager told me a year ago, if you want to leave all the lights on, even the office lights in the front of the building, he was like, I will not be mad at you if you leave the lights on, after you clock out for the evening. He was like, I do it. He's like, no one's going to get upset if you leave the lights on all night. It's like, because we all know nobody wants to be in here in the dark. And that's the problem. When I leave at night, I've got to turn off the lights in the studio and the break room. And when I'm coming down the hallway, the light for the entire hallway is in the middle of the hallway towards the studio. So once you turn the light off, you still got to go another 60 feet to the front door. So yeah, every single night when I turn that light off, I make a beeline for the front door, because that's when I will notice more things moving around, papers shuffling. It just sounds like somebody's at work, right? Sounds like somebody's in the office going through the filing cabinets. And I can't tell you how many times I have had to come out of the studio or come out of the break room. For a few months, I was sorting through all the 45s. I'd have to come out and stick my head in the hallway because somebody was there. I can't tell you how many 100 times I have had to come out of what I was doing because somebody was there, and there's nobody there. It's all the time. And this is not, like I said, this is not traffic. This is not the air conditioner. This is somebody, more than one person, I don't know who, is in there still working, doing something, and let me know they're there.
Sounds like they want to broadcast from the afterlife.
I know. And so my new production manager reminds me every morning to go ahead and make sure she even had, we have notes and we have a text chat, stuff going on at work. Don't forget to play BJ, the guy that worked there for so long, the DJ guy. He also was a singer, and he has, we got 30 of his songs in the record room, and all the stuff we play in the files, I guess you would call it. Don't forget to play. They just feel like if you would just play a song of his at least once a day, that will appease him. But it doesn't work.
What's this other experience? I believe it was Tennessee.
We'll do that. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that one. So one other time I've seen something. It was same year I had moved back. It was probably about 2006 or 7. I had made a friend. I was bartending for forever and ever in this little dirt floor, honky tonk old bar called the Dinner Bell. Well, anyway, we had all kinds of people, and I worked a couple other places too. I think it was Old Elks Lodge. I had a guy that used to come in all the time after work and have a couple beers. We became friends, and he lived not too far away. He lived about a mile away, and he was living with his ex-wife's dad, older guy, Paul. So anyway, he lived with Paul, and they had a little ranch house. So long story short, we'd been friends, and he used to come in. He's a regular, a real nice guy, lonely guy. So his name was Dave, and we used to call him Redneck Dave because he was just a straight redneck. But anyway, Dave had Dave's father had passed away, and I had known them because he had come into the bar with his dad a couple times. Anyway, we had really struck a friendship up. We were pretty close, and he had asked me, would I come with him to the funeral? I think it's mostly because he was drinking and he needed someone to drive him. So no big deal. We were friends. It was fine. And I cared about his dad. He's a nice guy and everything. So we get out to this funeral. Now, the funeral was like at least an hour away. It was up in Jamestown, Tennessee, which is not much going on in Jamestown. And it's way out in the middle of nowhere, up towards Kentucky. So I had this old 92 Buick. We get out to the funeral. We were there for several hours. We, went by, and it was the saddest funeral I've ever gone to. And sometimes I don't know if where y'all are from that are listening, but this was old timey to say the least. We went out to this funeral. It was the most saddest and just haunting funeral I have ever been to. In the little church, this little one-room country church, they had these women in the back row of this funeral house parlor, all dressed in mourning clothes, thick black and very old-fashioned black dresses. And these women were so old they could have been ghosts themselves. It was so creepy. And they were sitting back there singing Daddy's Hands, and just in a very, anyway, that's not the ghost story, but the funeral was just a bit creepy, to say the least. No disrespect, but it was very unsettling. And just, funerals are very, very sad, obviously. And I'm a very tender-hearted person, so that stuff really gets to me. I don't want to see anyone upset. Anyway, we get out to the funeral. We're headed home. It was starting to get dark. We get back to Dave and Paul's house. I'm dropping him off. At this point, it was probably close to midnight, maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night. And I had already been, it was a long day. And I also didn't live in Cookville. I lived in Sparta, which is another hour. And I lived at like the end of White County. So it was a good maybe hour drive to my house. I was very tired and exhausted. And Dave told me, you are more than welcome to crash here tonight. I know you're tired. I appreciate you. I'm going to bed. I said, okay, no problem. He said, Paul's not going to mind. So he told me I could sleep in the living room on the couch. No big deal. It's just him and Paul in the house. Paul was probably in bed for hours. I settle in, I fall asleep. And very similar, this must have happened after I had this experience with the sleep paralysis nightmare thing going on down in my other house. So this had been probably several months later. I believe it was because it was Thanksgiving time. So anyway, I get to sleep. I was exhausted. I'm sure I fell right asleep. Same kind of thing. I woke up feeling like I couldn't breathe. And I know for a fact this was months later. So it wasn't summertime. I had already gotten rid of whatever was going on at my house with the graveyard and the cross and the crucifix and all this stuff. So here I am. And I told you, I think I said it never happened again. It did happen again. And it was just this short period of time for me. So anyway, I wake up. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm choking. I feel like it almost felt like his dad had been saying something to me. I think I might have just been having a nightmare. You know, funerals are very emotionally draining. So anyway, ranch house, same kind of thing. Long hallway, rooms on either side. I'm in the living room on the right here. I get up. I figure, okay, I'm just upset. Whatever. I'm not gonna make a big deal about anything. I'm in someone else's house. I get up from the living room. The whole house is pitch black. Come out to the hallway, and there's a kitchen over to my left, around the hall there. So I figure I'm just gonna get a glass of water. No big deal. I go in there as I'm going into the hallway, I look down the hall towards the bedrooms, and there is, it's pitch black. And again, here I see a little girl. She probably looked to be about 5 or 6 years old. She had the apparition. If you have seen apparitions before, they're not always in color. For me personally, it's a lot of black and white. It may be different. I don't know for anyone else. Here comes this little girl, and again, a lot of people say, look at your ghosts, folks, because sometimes they ain't gonna have any feet. It was more of just like I had seen when I was younger, almost like a cloudy vision of this little girl. She had long, long black hair and bangs. She had on a very dark colored dress, long sleeve dress, no feet, and almost in like a mist, if you would. And she's coming down not like she's walking, she just floating. She coming straight at me down the hallway. All I could think to do, I can't scream and wake everyone up. I run into the kitchen. I'm looking down the hallway, and I'm freaking the hell out at this point. I go, I gather myself, get myself together, and I have to tell you, I'm a pretty level-headed person. I'm not too extreme one way or the other. This kind of stuff, why does it keep happening to me? And all of a sudden, so I get over everything. I get down the hallway. I go in. I knock on Dave's door. I sneak in his room. He's asleep. I said, Dave, I gotta go. You got a haunted house. I was like, some little girl is in your house, some kind of ghost. I don't recall the whole conversation, but I remember waking him up and shaking him and saying, I'm getting the hell out of here, man. I'm going home. And he's like, all he could think to say is, what the hell are you talking about? You wake somebody up in the middle of the night. He said, you gonna wake up Paul? You better get out of here. So that's my story. I headed home, but yes, I forgot about that. That was creepy. That creeped me out. I guess it always is creepy.
Definitely sounds creepy to me.
And I'm telling you, this sounds crazy. I'm not making this stuff up. I wasn't drinking that night. It's very weird. And I know so many people are skeptics and say there's no such thing as ghosts. It's not real. And so many other people will tell you, I didn't believe in it until it happened to me.
People are seeing something. They're definitely seeing something. That's
Well, I
and
think
and
there's
as far as
just,
what it is, that's hasn't been decided 100%. But I think I'm starting to lean to it like these days that it's just all the same stuff. Like all of it, the UFOs, the aliens, the Bigfoots, the ghosts. It's all the same. Whatever it is, it's the same stuff, but humans just can't comprehend it. Whatever it is, that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. It's just all the same. Whatever it is, it's all the same. Whether it's interdimensional, it's something that just humans can't grasp just yet.
it's definitely beyond our comprehension. I mean, I have to be open-minded enough to believe that we don't know everything. And I always pray that there's more to the story and someone's going to fill me in someday, whether in this world or the next. But yes, we don't know everything. So maybe someday someone will tell us, right? Mm.
Maybe.
Don't
So,
get me started on UFOs. So,
have you seen any UFOs?
as a kid, when I was much younger, elementary school. Well, first I'll say this: my dad works in aviation, and he has for 40 some years, probably 45 years now. Um, Even when I was just a kid in the 80s, my dad is a big conspiracy theorist. My dad's a very intelligent man, and he's a man of very few words, but he made sure that we knew about UFOs. So I don't know. I think he knows. I'd like to pick his brain. Maybe someday he'll open up a little bit. But yeah, he's said a few things. But yeah, definitely grew up making sure we watched all the UFO videos.
So do I understand correctly that you do tarot card readings also?
I do. Since I was a teenager, probably about 30 years now, I have been doing readings. And in fact, in the last 10 or 15 years, I have more professionally done them online. I do have an Etsy shop. If you're familiar with Etsy, you can go to blessedlovetarot.etsy.com. You can email me, same thing, at gmail.com, Blessed Love Tarot. I do them. I do readings just about every day. I'm very good at what I do. I have made thousands and thousands of accurate predictions. I have people who come to see me regularly. In fact, I can't tell you how many regulars I have, probably thousands. I get new people a few times a week, but yes, I am on Etsy. I've been there 12 years. Sometimes I do them for people outside of Etsy. A lot of my regulars just come to me personally and we'll do it that way. I do telephone readings. Most of my readings I email because they're incredibly lengthy. As you can tell, I have a lot to say. So yeah, they're a lot of fun and I really enjoy doing them.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap it up for this one, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.